And welcome back. This is your man Warrior. This is another patron roster review. This is Rhettro with the Ryloth Raiders. That's a mouthful. Say that 3 times fast. Now, he's doing really good in Fleet and Arena. He's able to climb into the #1 slot. He's got all the meta stuff. He's really not worried too much about actually any of the game. He really just kind of wants to know team compositions for Territory Wars / Grand Arena. What are kind of the top 5 or 6 teams for offense or defense that I would suggest him work towards or use within his thing. Now we're going to go first into ships really quick because he wanted to know kind of like a good offensive and a good defensive fleet. So we're going to go quickly through the offensive and defensive fleets for Grand Arena and Territory Wars. So the defensive team I would suggest is going to be Galactic Republic mixed with Bounty Hunters. When I say that, you're going to take your absolute 8 best Galactic Republic and Bounty Hunter ships and blend them. So that means you're going to use Endurance on defense. You're going to have the Umbaran Starfighter up front with the Bounty Hunters, which is Houndstooth, and then of course Cad Bane's ship works real good, the XB. And then in the back lineup, I would have Ahsoka Tano's ship come in first for the Dispel, and then have Anakin come in for the AOE and the Expose and all of that kind of stuff. You could also have Boba Fett in there to kind of come in as an extra tank to create some durability, and you could even have Plo Koon coming in. You're gonna have to max out Plo Koon's, Anakin's, and Ahsoka's reinforcements if you're going to use them in this way. Now, this team with the Bounty Hunters and the Galactic Republic under the Endurance is a extremely difficult team to beat. The only way you can really beat it is super smart, super efficiency, or having your Han's Millennium Falcon. And if you have the Han's Millennium Falcon, you're beating anything anyway. So what you're doing is a check. You're making sure they have their Millennium Falcon and they have to use it on offense, or otherwise they're probably going to stumble on this defensive team and probably lose, or at least have to do multiple battles to clear. You don't want your Millennium Falcon on defense because they can still kill the Millennium Falcon on offense easy. It's just the way of the world. And so you should always keep your Millennium Falcon for your offensive team, so that way you can bring in Millennium Falcon and always get a guaranteed, 22 points in Territory Wars, or get your Grand Arena win if their ships are incorporated, if they happen to be incorporated into Grand Arena. So always use this team, the Galactic Republic mixed with Bounty Hunters, and then move over into your Rebel team for offense with Home 1, Biggs, Han's Millennium Falcon, and Biston's U-Wing in the front 3. What happens is Biggs is going to be your tank. He'll survive, or should survive, no problem, even if you're going against another Han's Millennium Falcon. Biston's U-Wing is going to go stealth. They can't target Han's Millennium Falcon, so it instantly makes them go after Biggs. You'll have Phantom 2 coming in right away, who's going to be able to do massive damage, and then immediately bring in the Cassian's U-Wing. If you see an opportunity to bring Cassian's U-Wing in first and target their Millennium Falcon, if it happens to be on defense, do that, because you'll be able to kill their Millennium Falcon and guarantee a perfect, clean victory, because that's the ship that you got to worry about. Otherwise, if they're not running their Millennium Falcon on defense, and if they're smart, they're probably not, you'll have your Phantom 2 come in and do some critical damage, and then also be able to bring Cassian's U-Wing in second and help with the Dispel, and you can call an assist. Always call the Millennium Falcon, because when it shoots, it's going to call another assist as well. So pretty cool. This team, the Rebels team, is the most powerful offensive team available if you're talking about synergy, extra turn meter, lots of extra damage, things as such. And this is all you need. Everything you see here is a perfect lineup. You can even use Wedge in your back lineup in case they have their Houndstooth and things aren't going quite according to plan. You can bring him in and you can buff immunity that guy and finish him off the way you need to. So I would definitely use Rebels for offense, and then Galactic Republic with the Bounty Hunters for defense. Now let's move to Territory Wars / Grand Arena teams. We're going to start with defense and offense. We're going to go kind of through defense first, and we're going to talk about what teams that I would suggest on defense. Now, for defense, I would suggest a Sith filler team, and on offense, I would suggest the Triumvirate. Now, the reason for that is the Triumvirate's very, very strong and can really beat anything. And so because it can beat anything, it's a really great team to have on offense, and you could still use a Darth Maul lead Although you probably would want to slap a Zeta on the Darth Maul lead if you decide to do it. But a filler team could consist of Darth Maul, Sith Trooper, Sith Assassin, Savage, Sith Marauder, or Darth Sidious. And with all of the stealthing back and forth, it just becomes an irritating team to deal with. And then on offense, you could use, of course, your Darth Traya, Darth Sion, Darth Nihilus, Bastila Shan Fallen, and Thrawn. And that would take out even Revan. Now, quick thing, if you decide you want to use your triumvirate on defense, that's not a problem, but the Sith are definitely a staple or a pillar for your defensive squad as well as an offensive team. The same is true with Rebels. I recommend you running Commander Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Chewbacca, maybe R2-D2 or C-3PO. You could even bring in, what I like to do is use Commander Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Chewbacca, and then Baze and Chirrut. And the reason is Baze has 2 different dispels and does a lot of damage. He's a great tank to keep everyone alive. And between Commander Luke and Han and Chewbacca, you have way more than enough damage dealers out there. And Chirrut and Baze just make for a really great team. That also frees up your C-3PO and R2-D2 for some other teams to make some really powerful offensive strategies. You can also, in this though, obviously Rebels you can do on defense or offense. I recommend offense because this team can beat basically anything unless you're going against a way overpowered, Revan team. But even Revan you can beat with that team. Most of the time. The other thing is you have a lot of other kind of filler rebels. So a filler rebel team in the back row, kind of like the Sith in the back row with your Darth Maul lead, you could put yourself a Phoenix team in the background to kind of be a filler, or you could do a Rogue One team with, Jyn Erso, Cassian, K2SO, and throw in a couple other Rogue Ones, and you could do really well with that as a filler character. But I do recommend your CLS lead being for offense. Now, Jedi are a staple. They're the third staple in this. We've talked about the Sith. Now we've talked about Rebels. Now we're going into Jedi. With Jedi, I recommend 2 teams, one for offense, one for defense. But I know a lot of people that use them both for offense or both for defense, so it's up to you. Now, I believe, I'm of mind that if someone's going to play me in Grand Arena, they have to earn their win. What I mean by that is they have to beat the best of the best. And so I leave Jedi Knight Revan on defense. Always. I'd run him with Jolie Bindo, Grandmaster Yoda, General Kenobi, and Hermit Yoda. Basically, your entire first row minus Bastila Shan. And what this does is Hermit Yoda makes the team a lot faster, kind of speeds him up with his basic. He can do a mass call to assist, just like General Kenobi as he starts to put that master's training on everyone. And Jolie Bindo is really hard to kill with the regeneration of health and protection from Hermit Yoda, because Jolie's already hard to kill regardless. There is some stealthing, which does help your opponent kind of take this team out, but it is a check. It basically says, can you beat the #1 team in the game or not? If you can, props to you, and if you can't, ha ha ha. So this is a front row team. I really recommend this being on the front row. And the reason is if they can beat it, they have to use meta to do it. And you don't have to worry about them saving their meta teams for other teams that might be difficult to kill in the back. The second is if they don't beat it, then they have to send in other teams after other teams after other teams. And then it just deflates them and they just end up losing and they quit and they give up and it's an easy win. So if RNG is in your favor, you can literally shut them down by having this on your front row and winning. Now, I know people that keep the Revan for offense. I really wouldn't do that. Like I said, make them earn it, but you can use them for offense or defense. Personally, if you set them for defense, you can use then Bastila Shan lead as an offensive team. A lot of people do that. Bastila Shan works great on offense. I also, though, use Bastila on defense. It's a really durable, very difficult team to beat. And so I would use Bastila Shan, Juhani, Ezra. You can mix in Old Ben and then someone else. I like personally to use Aayla Secura because she stuns if her crit chance is really high. And that stun between Juhani and Aayla and Bastila, they all have stuns. It just makes for a really, really difficult time killing them because if you don't have a high tenacity team going in, they just end up walking over you on defense. And so it really forces their hand at putting in a really good team to beat them. And there's not a whole lot that can beat Bastila Shan leads. So I personally, for defense, like to use two Jedi teams on defense. Jedi Knight Revan in the front row and Bastila Shan with Juhani, Ezra, Old Ben, and Ayla in the back. But you could, instead of using Ayla, put in someone like Mace Windu or whatnot, and that would work for sure. The fourth staple is Night Sisters. You're looking really good. The only Night Sister you definitely need to develop is Night Sister Spirit. That's 100% what you need to do. You've put all of the energy into Night Sisters. Make sure you get Spirit up there to Gear 12 as well. Total MVP. Now, you can put Night Sisters on offense or defense. I know many people that use it on defense, and the reason is they're exceptionally difficult to beat. There's not a lot of teams that can beat them. And it really forces their hand at making sure someone saves something that can beat this. Of course, Revan can beat it easy, but there's not a ton out there that beats it. I like to personally use an Emperor Palpatine lead to beat Night Sisters, but even then, if they're really good, sometimes that can fail. So Night Sisters are a really great defensive team. Personally, though, I keep Night Sisters on offense because almost everybody at the highest end leaves Bastila Shan Jedi Fallen leads in defense. And so because I have to fight Bastila Shan leads on defense, I like to have my Night Sisters because Night Sisters just focus firing one character at a time, can really chew through the Bastila teams with no problem. They'll kill your zombie 1,000 times, but that's okay. It allows for you to continue to just destroy that team. It takes a solid 4 minutes to win, but I do like using the Night Sisters because it's an easy guaranteed win first time through. You don't get the extra points for protection, but I like Night Sisters on offense because they can beat a lot, and I mean a lot of teams, including a lot of scoundrel teams or Old Republic teams. So Night Sisters for me are for offense, but you can use them for defense, but you definitely want to get Night Sister Spirit leveled up. She's an absolute nightmare to deal with. If you put her on defense, it makes these guys almost impossible to beat. And on offense, she will help you dispel and stun your target who you're trying to kill. Fifth team to talk about is Old Republic, and for Old Republic, you've got obviously two teams. First is partially a Jedi team, and we've talked about those, but the other one is going to be a Cartho Nassi lead with Mission and Zalbar and Canderous Ordo, and then you could either put in Juhani, or you could put in another tank, or you could put in Nest. There's so many different options, but the heart and soul of this team is Carth, Zalbar, and Mission. Now, it works on offense, but 90% of people that have these Zetas like you, Carth, Zeta, or Zalbar, and Mission, use them on defense, and rightly so. It's another team that's so powerful like Jedi Knight Revan that I like to put in the front row opposite of Jedi Knight Revan to force them to use a major meta team to beat it. And there's not a whole lot that can go out there and beat it. You're talking, Jedi Training Rey, Rebels, Triumvirate, maybe the First Order if you do it right. Those are about the only teams that can beat it, and so it requires meta to beat, and that then eliminates one of the meta teams for the back rows for Grand Arena Territory Wars. And so I definitely think that this is, Old Republic should be used on defense. Now, bounty hunters can be split up into two teams, and you can definitely use them all. If you're going to set a defensive kind of filler team, you could do like a, Jango Fett, Aura Singh, using some of the oddballs like Zam and Greedo or IG-88, something like that. The first five that most people use, though, are Bosk, Boba Fett, Dengar, Jango, Embo, things like that. It's a really, really powerful team. Really what you want is you want Bosk with Embo and Dengar. Those three, Embo underneath a Bosk Zeta is really difficult to kill. Dengar stays stealth. Bosk is difficult to kill. And then you can put in Boba Fett and Jango Fett. I do recommend, though, instead of Boba Fett and Jango Fett, I recommend you put in Cad Bane and IG-88 or Cad Bane and Greedo on that team, because Cad Bane and Greedo will help with getting payout quickly, and then Bosk, Embo, and Dengar will do their job and knock stuff out. Boba Fett and Jango Fett are almost better left alone. Bringing them out of that team, it allows you to do another bounty hunter team for offense, because Bosk should be for defense, and you would use Jango Fett lead with Boba Fett, Aura Singh, Zam, Greedo or IG-88, and that team is really great to kill lots and lots and lots of different things. And the reason is Jango Fett and Boba Fett can target whomever they like, and when they die, they stay dead. Well, guess who that works well for? Well, every team, but Night Sisters specifically. A lot of people love to put Night Sisters on defense, so taking in Jango Fett and Boba Fett, they can just happily target old Daka, kill her, and she never, ever, ever revives. She's a done deal. And then you can immediately move on to Asajj, and you don't have to worry about a taunt because with their ability, they are able to target whoever they want, whenever they want, and when someone dies on their turn, they stay dead. That is really, really important. Jango Fett is your eliminator. He finishes them off, and they're gone. Same thing with Boba Fett's execute, make them go away and stay gone. The nicest thing, though, is them just being able to target whomever they want. So I personally use Bossk on defense, and then I like to use my Jango and Boba Fett on offense. But there's lots of teams they can kill. Now, smugglers are a great defensive team. They're to try to trip people up. Obviously, Han Solo and Chewbacca are already saved for the CLS team, but Kira with Vander, Chewbacca, L3, and Infus Nest are a wicked combo. Those four are insanely difficult to deal with. And then you could throw in young Lando Calrissian or young Han Solo. I recommend young Han Solo on that team. And if you like using Infus Nest on offense, you could throw in Lando and Han Solo under Kira with L3 and Vandor to keep them alive. I wouldn't worry about their gear as much because Han Solo and Lando are not going to die, because if they do, they'll just be revived. And with L3 there, it's extremely difficult to ever even target anything other than L3. So the smuggler team is just another filler team. It forces their hand at using a kind of meta team, because if they go with a B squad such as Ewoks, they might win and they might not. In fact, there's a really good chance they won't. And so if they use, Finn first, or they try to use Ewoks, a lot of times it'll result in a failure, and then they end up having to bring a meta team in anyway to beat it. So this is a really great team. You can use it in the front or you could use it in the back. There's differing reasons for putting it in the front to kind of force them to use better teams. Also, if you put it in the back, they might have used all their meta teams to get through the front and may not have anything strong enough to physically beat this in the back row. So there's a lot of pros and cons, but definitely for me, I would put Kira and the smugglers on defense. Now, I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the First Order. They're phenomenal. They can be used on defense or offense. A traditional defensive team is like Kylo Ren Unmasked, Kylo Ren, First Order Officer, First Order Executioner, and the First Order Stormtrooper. That's a pretty awesome team. Sometimes people take out First Order Officer to put in like a Barriss Office Zeta individual or something like that. But you can also use First Order, the team I just mentioned with Kylo Ren, Kylo, First Order Officer, Executioner, and Stormtrooper to take out offensively many teams. So I am seeing more and more people leave their First Order for offense to ensure that they can kill Cartho, Nassi, Mission, and Zalbar. And the reason is that's a damage over time team, and that feeds these two Kylo Rens a ton of damage capability. The damage over time really helps this team. And so because of that, First Order works really phenomenal. If you know you're going against an opponent with Cartho, Nassi, Zated Lead, and Mission and Zalbar, I would keep First Order for offense. And if they don't have Carth, and you look at their, their characters and they don't have that team, then you could stick this on defense, and it's definitely a solid team that they're going to have to bring something meta against to beat it. Now, you can make two teams out of Resistance, an offensive team and a defensive team. The defensive team would be Rey Jedi Training with R2-D2, BB-8, possibly C-3PO, and maybe like T3 or Resistance Trooper. But lots of droids underneath Rey Jedi Training makes a phenomenal team. Personally, instead of putting it on defense, I would use it on offense because it's a guaranteed win against basically anything. You can beat Bossk, you can beat First Order, you can beat Rebels with it. You can, walk over the Triumvirate, surprisingly, with this team. It's just a really great team. And so because of that, I would keep Rey Jedi Training for offense. Now, you can also build an offensive team out of Finn, Poe, Resistance Trooper, Scavenger, and C-3PO. That team is a great kind of B team to go against if you see some filler teams, because a lot of times you'll see like a Rebel filler team, or you'll see, you know, some other, like maybe it's a Scoundrel filler team that's not as good. This is a B team that you'd be able to take in and take out their B team. But just keep in mind, Ewoks, Imperial Troopers, you know, Finn, these are teams that are not designed to take out, you know, the, you know, CLSs and the Revans and the triumvirates. You've got to make sure that you keep these teams, these more B teams, for kind of cleanup, or for, you know, if you see any filler teams. And I, again, would use JTR on offense. And we've done a million teams already. You said like 5 teams and I've gone crazy, but I wanted to make sure you had a really wide swath to choose from. Another really fun team I like to use on offense. A lot of people put, you know, an Empire team as a filler team on defense, and that's fine. But a really fun offensive team that can take out bounty hunters, scoundrels, different bounty hunter teams, different scoundrel teams. You could use them to take out some first order teams. You can use them to take out some rebel teams. You can use it to take out Night Sisters, and I prefer it to actually be my Night Sister counter. It's, again, one of my Night Sister counters that I keep, and that is an Emperor Palpatine lead with Darth Vader, Grand Admiral Thrawn, if you want Thrawn. Otherwise, Emperor Palpatine, Vader, Shore Trooper, Imperial Probe Droid, and Grand Moff Tarkin. So Emperor Palpatine's there to provide a ton of speed with debuffs and to put shock. Shocks prevents the extra turn meter, the buffs from being applied over their head, and it's just a really, really, really amazing debuff. And Emperor Palpatine, you want to put, you know, shock over everybody. But Darth Vader under EP is lightning fast. So this makes for a really fast team. You should get the jump on most teams you're going against, specifically, let's say, Night Sisters. With Darth Vader, he can debuff everybody and then throw Culling Blade, and you can get through that taunt of the tank pretty quickly. You can also shock the tank and ignore it, because the shock will, you know, prevent it from taunting. Grand Moff Tarkin is there for debuffing and heavy damage. The AoE wears all the protection down and allows for you to start getting all of those kills that you need to start getting. And IPD would be there to eliminate all the buffs. So if the tank is taunting and you got to get around that tank taunt because you've shocked it, but the taunt's already up, you can use IPD to take away all the buffs. Also, IPD can blow up instantly anytime you want by using Emperor Palpatine's heal. It then puts the Imperial Probe Droid on notice, and it allows for you to blow something up if it's going south. And as long as it's one of the other 4 Night Sisters, we're not talking about the zombie, but every other one, when the Imperial Probe Droid blows, it will kill that character forever. They're not coming back, so you don't have to worry about them. Always try and go for the leader of whatever team you're going against, so when you come back in, they don't have the lead ability for the cleanup. You want to, you know, really hurt them the second time around if you don't get them the first time. And you Shore Troopers in there as a taunt, a tank, to provide a little crit hit immunity, and you always save his heal until everybody's been plagued. If you're going against Night Sisters, once they're plagued, he throws his heal and everything is good. What you want on Shore Trooper is only 2 stats. That's it. You want health, 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 and you want tenacity. Get that tenacity around 125 to 150% with a full, you know, 3 sets of health mods with health primaries where you can. And this guy's going to heal the team ridiculous amounts, and he's going to be impossible to stun and things like that, which is what you want, because you want him to ensure he can throw that heal and not be in a stun mode, because there's multiple stunners on those. Now, this team doesn't just have to go against Night Sisters. That's my preference, but you can actually use it against Bosk leads. It's crazy. It can go right through Bosk leads. It's really great for a lot of other teams. So this is a team I would prefer on offense. And then again, you can throw Thrawn in there, but I actually prefer him with the Triumvirate, because it makes the Triumvirate even more powerful to take out a Revan squad. So we've talked about 10 teams with about 3 other kind of B-rated teams we talked about for Territory Wars and Grand Arena. I hope I've given you a ton of thoughts that you can go out and look. Anyone watching this, if you have any ideas for any really fun Grand Arena or Territory War teams you think that Rhettro can do with his roster, please leave them in the comments down below. And as always, keep your gaming on. Warrior out.